My family had been coming to Apalachicola since I was in grade school. In that time, it became another home for us, a place that was special for our family in its own way. Growing up in Georgia, my dad would take me canoeing on the Flint River. When I learned that the Apalachicola River held the same water as the Flint, I was instantly fascinated by the thought of an ecosystem that encompassed so much, even if my 9-year-old brain couldn't grasp its meaning. From that point on, paddling the entirety of the Apalachicola River made it onto our bucket list. Something we would talk about while looking out over the beautiful Apalachicola Bay. Many years later, I decided we had talked about it long enough, and it was time to turn an idea into a plan. When Hurricane Michael devastated the Florida Panhandle in 2018, we were forced to delay our dream just a little bit longer. We planned, we anticipated, and finally, in October 2019, we made the trip south one more time to a place we were all too familiar with. Paddling the river with the Apalachicola Riverkeeper's RiverTrek was so much more than a kayaking and fundraising trip for my dad and I. It was an opportunity to fulfill a dream and accomplish something together.
All right, we made it. Got in last night to Apalachicola. Stayed here at the historic Gibson Inn. Fantastic spot. But didn't do any real filming last night. Just kind of caught up with Dad and whatnot. But we, both of us, we've been packing over the last few weeks. But the previous night before we left was kind of the first time we put everything together. So we weren't 100% sure that all of our stuff was going to fit in our kayaks, since we're both newbies at this. So that was our first order of business today, was doing a shakedown of gear and made sure everything fit. So that's what we got going on. Everything fits. Excited, very excited. So we're doing a bit of a switcheroo today. So both kayaks are going to go on my car, and then we're going to be headed to Tallahassee today. And because that's where our ride, Harry Smith from Harry Smith Outdoors is going to be giving us a ride to Chattahoochee tomorrow morning, and Harry's going to be on the trip with us, so he'll be paddling as well. Plan now is maybe tootle around town a little bit, do some shopping, and then head up to Tallahassee. We'll see you there.
In England, and go, in a small English town, and opens a bookstore.
Shoot, even those heavy boats, even if they didn't have straps, they wouldn't go anywhere.
I don't think so, you're right.
We did it. We're here. We made it. It's 8:30 on October 8th. We're here in Chattahoochee boat ramp in the mighty Apalachicola River. Very, very excited. This trip's a long time coming. So I know we got about officially another hour before we push off, but everybody's arriving and getting boats loaded and tested out. Very, very excited. Very good times.
Okay. Aspalaga is in about 6 miles. We'll get there in about an hour and a half, maybe a little less, on the left. That's our first stop. We have a talk by a biologist there in State Park.
Made it. We are finally doing it. Last week, the whole southeast had just this unholy heat wave, and it was in the mid-90s for October. So even for the south, that's pretty warm. It's still warm, but it is not that warm. We're looking at highs in the mid-80s during the day, and then lows in the 60s at night, and knock on wood, no rain. So I think it's about as perfect of weather as we could probably hope for. But beautiful morning this morning. Been paddling for about an hour and some change, hour and a half, and coming up on Interstate 10. That's probably one of my favorite parts of this this trip, the lack of civilization. There's tiny little, river towns here and there, but for the most part, you're going through a big green splotch on the map. But so far so good. Trying to get into some type of a rhythm.
We did not have it, I know.
So this area is beautiful downtown Apalachicola, right here. It's hard to believe, but at one time there was a post office, there was a warehouse, there were wharves in the 1820s. There's a newspaper article from Saratoga, New York, talking about the wonderful town of Apalachicola. And the reason for that, obviously, was that was the I-10 of its day. Very few roads in this part of the state, and so the river was the highway. This was a loading point for goods, and bringing longleaf pine down here to ship up to Columbus, Georgia, and build houses out of it.
Lunchtime. These sandbars are plentiful, so that's good news for us as far as camping goes. We should have a pretty sweet campsite tonight, from what I understand. But yeah, taking a break. Might jump in the water here in a minute and cool off, but just about a perfect day. Good times. This is a throwback to my dad was teaching me how to camp. We had beef spread on our family camping trips, so that's tastes about as amazing as it sounds. But it's got horseradish and cream cheese and shredded beef. It's downright tasty. Breakfast of champions. Risk. Just like that. It is definitely an art form.
Yeah, there is.
So we just passed a mile marker of all things, and we have 94.7 miles to go. So that's I don't know whether to be encouraged or discouraged, but still a beautiful day. Absolutely perfect. Just easing on. We probably got, at this point, maybe 11 miles to Alum Bluff. That's where we're going to be camping. There's a sandbar right across from Alum Bluff. And just easing on down. 94.6 miles to go. Good times. Well, we stopped for a little rest break. sat in the shade for a little bit. It was very welcome. Passed another mile marker. So we got 90.5 miles to go. It's all downhill. Just got a handful of miles left to go today. It's going to ease on in that direction. Good times.
Is this it? We home? You put the siren singing.